The Rings of Power Season 2 has now got to its big action episode, so what has it got in store for us? We start this episode with our good friend Celebrimbor as he looks out to the view while having a nice little drink there as he's making the 9 rings for mortal men. He then looks under the table to see a mouse, and while he gets up, he sees his reflection, and looking back at him is his true tired form. Furthering his confusion, he thinks that Feanor's hammer is missing a gem, but when he looks back at it, it does appear to be there. After this, Celebrimbor expresses his thanks towards Sauron and how much he's brought clarity to him so he could make these 9 rings. And Sauron's like, yeah, that's all great, but how long is it actually going to take, mate? Because we're on a bit of a timer here. And he says, we can't rush perfection. These are things which will be there for eternity. So yeah, it's going to take a few more days for the rings to be complete. Then we get the trailer shot with the dramatic music playing, as it says there, with Sauron and Eregion burning in the background. We then see a few of the attacks from the orcs, and then we go back to Sauron as he continues lying to the elves of Eregion by saying that Celebrimbor told me to tell you that there will be no counterattack and that the river will protect us. And obviously Celebrimbor's mind's gone, so I'm now in charge and we're gonna do things my way. Sauron then continues to tell Medanya that we are alone, and she goes to him and holds his arm and says, not alone. And then the very next line from Sauron is, you have proven your quality, Medanya. And I'm like, what? Are you that easy to please, dude? Like, if he just said something like, you know what, we're screwed, and she's like, not screwed. Not screwed. You, Madame, you really make me feel better. He even says when the time comes that she'll be duly rewarded, and can't wait to see that. Sauron then alerts the others that the siege engines have gone quiet and that they're turning them away from the city, but where are they now aiming them? Well, their new target is right here. And the reason is, what they want to do is catapult some rocks onto the cliff face, make it fall down onto the river to create a dam, and then that dam will mean the water that's blocking their path will disappear, so then they can proceed with a ground assault. And just in case you don't believe me, here go a few of those rocks now. Look at them go. And luckily for the orcs, on their second attempt, they hit this little rock here that's holding up this bigger rock that falls down and then makes a whole domino effect, which creates the dam. Now, on the one hand, you could say this is completely ridiculous. What a load of absolute crap. Or on the other hand, you could say that Adar is actually a tactical genius. Anyway, while all this is going on, we go back to Celebrimbor and we see that he's getting a bit more suspicious, and so he draws on a candle. We next go to Khazad-dûm to see King Durin speak with the dwarf Na'vi as he reports to him about the Eregion attack. And so he's like, oh bloody hell, they're under attack. They're going to get really desperate now for the Mithril, so we better get digging right this moment. And he's like, hold on, your son and Deezer are down there. I don't give a crap about them. Go and dig right now, otherwise we're going to be missing out on this unthinkable wealth. So Na'vi and the other dwarves head down there and are greeted by Prince Durin and Deezer, with Deezer opting not to use constipated noises this time. But there is no need for attack because the dwarves stand with Prince Durin and Deezer as they can see the effects the ring is having on the king. Na'vi then tells them that theirs is not the only kingdom in peril and says that an elf wants Prince Durin's ear. And that elf is, of course, Elrond, and it was sweet to see him and Prince Durin share a scene again because it's the first time that's happened this whole season. And, especially after season 1, it was these two's companionship that was one of the highlights of that season. As expected, he is in Khazad-dûm to request the aid of Prince Durin and the dwarves for the Battle of Eregion. We'll have to wait to find out Prince Durin's answer because we then cut straight to the orcs as they start their ground assault. And a big question here is with the dam, because the dam just happened, but now not that long later in the episode, we see them start the attack, and the water's mostly gone already. The heavy machinery can go on it as well. It is a bit boggy still, but for this all to happen so quickly, it feels so unbelievable. And again, I'm not sure how long it has taken place since the dam was created until this moment. And like always, Rings of Power do a really bad job of re-establishing time. We then go back to Sauron as he asks Celebrimbor if the rings are finished, and Celebrimbor stops him in his tracks and says, look at this, and he shows him the mouse. And then as we can see, Sauron is not amused.
Captivating.
And this is where Celebrimbor finally cracks a code that a cycle is going on, with the mouse being an example. And we also see him show Sauron the candle where the marks on it to show that it's not been burning. Celebrimbor then, after all this bloody time, finally asks the question, who are you truly? Sauron then says some bollocks, and then he gets a bit more aggressive, as you can see. And then we see Celebrimbor respond.
I want the 9 now!
Celebrimbor might be an idiot, but he's got a decent throw on him at least. So after Celebrimbor smashes the window, you can hear the true events of what's happening in Eregion, and then he goes to the balcony to see all the destruction outside. And if you thought the outside was bad, the inside is not much better. The big reveal here is that the Mithril is in fact this black liquid, and as we saw in the first episode, Sauron likes to be a black slime monster at times, and so you can put 2 and 2 together. And just in case you forgot that, Sauron does confirm that for true creation, it does require sacrifice. And so after all this time, Celebrimbor finally works it out, but this guy here, the guy who turned up on his doorstep, has been odd in pretty much every encounter they've had, is in fact Sauron. And to make matters even worse, he walks outside and gets hit by that straight away. I mean, he's pretty much Hans Moleman at this point.
Oh no, I just made my last payment.
Celebrimbor then finds Medania to tell her about the whole Sauron situation and that they've all been deceived by him. Celebrimbor then says that this guy here is Sauron, but the elves don't believe him. They think that he's just mad after, believing Sauron's lies. And even Medania here saying that, he's been protecting us. He wants to try and prove the point by saying to cut him open to show the black blood. And Sauron's like, yep, I'm one step ahead of you, mate. So they all think that Celebrimbor is absolutely cuckoo, and Medania's like, let's get you back where you belong. And what follows this is absolutely hilarious.
Get your hands off me! No!
What the fuck? Oh no, oh not her.
Oh, Mirdania. She's called Mirdania.
I felt like I should care about that death, but no, that all just escalated very quickly, didn't it? So after all that, Sauron tells Celebrimbor to finish the 9, and he'll spare the city. Next, we head over to Elrond as he leads the charge of the elves into the orcs, but they stop just in time because they see that they've got Galadriel there as hostage. So Adar and Elrond have a discussion in this hut. Adar has an offer for him with the ring for Galadriel's life being that, and he also says to leave Sauron to me. He wants to take him on his own. Elrond declines his offer and says instead that ask me this on the field when the neck with a blade against it is yours. And here comes the interesting bit, because Elrond says if that is to be the way of things, I should like to bid her farewell. And Adar's just like, yeah, go ahead, go on. Get close to her, it's fine. You decline my offer, but sure, get close to Galadriel, my prize asset here. And I'm like, what? Why? Why are you even letting him get anywhere near him? Like, this is stupid from Adar's point of view. What are you playing at? Here we go, Elrond kisses Galadriel, and the music's asking the question, can you feel it? Can you feel this epic moment? In all seriousness though, this was a bit weird because later down the line, Galadriel does turn out to be Elrond's mother-in-law, and also just, based on this season, they've had like one scene in the second episode where they sort of touch hands, and there's a little bit of a spark there, you could say, but I can't even say that because when that episode came out, I just didn't believe these two characters having any sort of connection at all. And so now they're kissing. It just did not work at all. I don't know why they're trying to make this a thing with Galadriel and Elrond. And then the music was just like, the music's like really stupid as well. It's like, what are you doing? Like, we're all supposed to be like sat back at home watching this like, oh my god, I'm so happy they finally kissed. But if you look at it another way, it did lead to a decent distraction, so Elrond could place the pin in Galadriel's hand there. But at the same time, I mean, there's an orc looking right at them, as you can see on the right. What is going on? I mean, why are these orcs even here? They're not even looking at the main people involved with what they're in the room for. So yeah, this whole scene was kind of stupid from the whole point where Adar said to go and, say goodbye to Galadriel. This elf here asks Elrond why he's so confident, and he responds by saying, even now Prince Durin is rallying a legion of dwarves to our aid, so we have our answer that Prince Durin has accepted his axe into battle. Next up, we do head over to Prince Durin as he has a speech and leads the battle cry as they say we're going to march for Eregion. And also a key thing to note here, while Prince Durin's having his speech, we do see Galadriel use the pin to escape. Then we head straight back over to Elrond and the elves as they're fighting some orcs in the wooded area, and one of the orcs kills his horse. Elrond's pretty mad about this, so he kills this orc, puts him on the catapult, unleashes it, which then fires it onto Eregion's walls, and so he's basically committing friendly fire just for the overkill of this orc who killed his horse. Don't get me wrong, I'd like to fling him, but maybe not there. Maybe somewhere else. Do you remember that cautious orc from the last episode? Well, he's speaking up here to Adar, and saying how many of the Uruk are dying. And he says, "You told us you loved us." And Adar responds by saying, "I'm not going to let you become slaves to Sauron, so we're going to bloody win this." Adar then finds out that Galadriel has escaped and finds the pin. And you just think to yourself, well, it's your own fault, mate. Why do you let him get close to her? Why would you even give him that opportunity? You're an idiot. Speaking of idiots, Galadriel walks through the orcs, and not one of them looks her directly in the face, because if they did, they would see very clearly that it's her. I mean, her blonde hair's even poking out. I mean, are the orcs that stupid? Thankfully, it doesn't take too long until one of the orcs does notice the pretty hair, and you think, oh, Galadriel's stuck now. She's going to have to go back in the prison. No, she's not. And why is that? That's because Arondir's there to rescue the day, once again, because that's what he does. So Arondir kills a few of the orcs with his arrows, and none of the other orcs are alerted to this. And then we see Galadriel tell Arondir that she knows a hidden way into the city, and we must find Sauron. And Arondir's like, "I'm not here for Sauron, I'm here for Adar, and I'm going to go get him right now." And Galadriel's like, "Maybe not right now, it's not the best opportunity, wait for a better moment." Anyway, we leave that and we go back to Khazad-dûm, and Na'vi tells Prince Durin that his father has turned his axe on his men. Na'vi continues on to tell him that his father's going to loose that beast, aka the Balrog, and so Prince Durin's in a sticky situation here. He either leaves to go and help Elrond, or he stays and helps save Khazad-dûm. So, you know, between a rock and a hard place. Following this, we head back to Region as Sauron speaks with Celebrimbor and says how our sufferings will be worth it, and speaks a bit further about how Morgoth treated him, and that Morgoth wanted and seek darkness, whereas he seeks to perfect. And he ends this conversation by once again showing his eagerness to get these rings complete by saying, "Finish them." Celebrimbor then puts the rings in the fire, and when he takes them out, he discovers the rings are complete, and so he puts them in this little bag. He then tries to escape, but he can't get his hand through the handcuff, and so he decides to take off his thumb. Celebrimbor then goes outside, but he collapses to the floor, and these elves find him and want to put him back in the tower, as that's what the Lord of Eregion, aka Sauron, ordered them to do. And I don't really know why they're so trustworthy of him. It was a bit unbelievable how they just sort of go with that. You know, I understand Medanya a little bit because she got closer to Sauron, but these guys, they're having a real relationship with this dude, so why are they so trustworthy? But anyway, then we see Galadriel arrive, and she tells him to release him. Celebrimbor then expresses the guilt he feels to Galadriel about what happened with Sauron, tells her to take the 9 rings, and as he built the city, he'll take Sauron on and he'll give them some time to get away. The two of them exchange some emotional words. Galadriel even expresses her own guilt for bringing Sauron to the city, and then we see Celebrimbor say farewell to her in Elvish. Heading over to the battlefield, and Elrond speaks to this elf warrior here and says how a single arrow from her may yet turn a tide, because she does have these torch arrows. And as we'll see in a second, she gets hit by quite a few arrows. Oh, she did. But she is in fact not dead, as she's able to light the arrow, get back up to her feet, and hit a bullseye. It is kind of nuts how this character gets a pretty epic conclusion when you look at some of the other characters in the show who have gone out like wet farts. And, you know, this character's had their first lines, I think, in this scene. Back with Sauron, and he's trying to find the rings, but he can't find them. And Celebrimbor and the soldiers come upstairs to greet him, and he uses power to make them kill each other. He personally slices the neck of the last one, and he tells Celebrimbor that he will give him the 9. And that's the end of what we see here in this episode with Celebrimbor and Sauron. We then get an extended action sequence with this troll here called Damrod, who gets unleashed onto the battlefield by Adar, who for some reason has been keeping him up his sleeve until now. And, you know, he takes down quite a few of the elves, but it didn't take that long until he gets taken down himself. And for some reason, he's the only troll involved. And that's right, High King Gil-galad has also entered the fray as he helps take down Damrod. Arondir jumps on him and gives him a few hits, and then Elrond gives him his final blow, and Damrod laughs his way to his death. As the light emerges from the north, Elrond thinks the dwarves are coming, but as the elf reveals, Durin has recalled their army. And so for Elrond, he says that Durin will come, and he repeats this a few more times, and with each time he says it, his hope flickers even more. Arondir then takes on Adar, but he does lose. I do expect that he's dead, but at the same time, he was on the floor moving around, so potentially he is still alive somehow. And to finish the episode, Adar shows himself to be victorious. He pushes Elrond to the floor and flaunts the ring in his face. And there we go. That is the end of this big action episode of The Rings of Power. So my overall thoughts for this episode is, well, firstly, there were no Harfoots, no Numenor, no Isildur, so that's great. The most interesting storyline has been the main one with the Rings of Power with Sauron and Celebrimbor. I think Charles Edwards plays him well, even though I think the character himself is a complete idiot, and they really should have done something different with that. But he does well with the material he's been given. And so it does make you think that if this show was more focused and the aspects of this main story were better developed, it could have been much better. But instead, we're wasting our time with half-foots. And like I said before, this show is just way too thin in terms of we got so many plot lines, so many characters, and it doesn't have enough time to do what it wants to do with these characters. Like, we have 8 episodes, and you got to think, all the things we've been introduced in this season, everything's got to wrap up for next episode. Next episode is a finale. I'm sure they'll leave some things open for season 3, but it's still, it's not going to be satisfying, is it? And with this episode, this was a big action one. I think the action wasn't anything too special. Obviously a lot of hard work was put into it, but the result of it wasn't impactful like it was in, like, say, the films, because I don't have the connection with the characters. I don't have the connection with what's actually happening because, again, it's been so underdeveloped. And a prime example of this is Myrddania, because she's been in the season quite a bit. And she has got close to Sauron. She has been deceived by him, but nowhere near as much as Celebrimbor. But then she dies a brutal death, and she is an innocent party at the end of the day. But how it all went down was just quite funny, and it shouldn't. You can maybe see her falling off being quite funny, or being pushed off. By Celebrimbor, quite funny. But how her actually dying, you should have felt something at least if you had any connection with her as a character. But that never came to be. And if we look at another character, Arondir, who's more of a main character, who's been in both season 1 and season 2, I assume he's not dead here because he's still got his eyes open, and I think they would have done a bit more of a dramatic ending for him if that was the case. But he should be dead, really, from what happened. And if he is dead, then fine. But if he's not, I'm not going to be surprised. But at the same time, he's come into this battle. He saved Galadriel, and he was there early in the season as well to save Isildur. He is just a guy who turns up at the right time. That's all he does. What else has he done, really? So yeah, much of this episode did not work for me. But as I said in the recap section, I do like the friendship between Elrond and Prince Durin, and I think Robert Aramayo is very good as Elrond, and especially here, just showing how he feels betrayed by his friend here, that he didn't turn up to the battle. We will see more from the dwarves in the finale with the Balrog, and I'm intrigued to see how that all goes down. But this was the big action episode, episode 7, and I think for this Battle of Eregion, it's been a bit of a disappointment, really, because it's one where I don't want to watch it again. Like, with a big action sequence in Lord of the Rings in this world, you would like to watch it over and over again. It's awesome, isn't it? Orcs versus elves and all that. But it didn't work. It didn't work. It's just, like I said, for the first reason, because the care's not there, but also if you just take it as its own thing, just forgetting anything else, strip all that away. The action and what actually went down here wasn't that great. It wasn't clever. It wasn't anything where I'm like, this is inventive, or it's done anything to really show itself to be distinctive when it comes to one of the battles. No, it didn't do any of that. And the whole damn thing, and there's one troll, and bloody Elrond uses the catapult to just get a bit of an overkill of someone who killed his horse. There's just bits like that, and it didn't really feel like it ever got going. We had a few good shots, a few good kills, and then obviously that elf lady got a pretty epic death as well. Undeserved in my opinion, because it's a character who hasn't done anything in the show at all. So why should she get this? So yeah, I mean, why not give Arondir that? I mean, I know he's not got the torch arrows or whatever, but just put something into the story for him to do that. Maybe I don't know, but I think it was incredibly disappointing, this episode. Like I said, there were a few points I had to pick out there which I did enjoy, mostly with Elrond and that, but yeah, not one for me which has delivered. But of course, let me know your thoughts on this episode. What did you enjoy? What did you not enjoy? And another question is, if for things you didn't enjoy, how could they have improved it? Is there something they could have done to make it drastically better? Or is it something where it goes completely against Tolkien's lore and it should just get scrapped? So yeah, let me know all that down below. If you want to see my thoughts on the finale, make sure to subscribe. And if you want to see another video on screen, we have a couple that YouTube have recommended for you.